Well, good morning, and happy Friday to you. How is everybody doing today? It's been quite the last, I guess it's 2 weeks now, since the election. Got a lot of people feeling varying degrees of anxiety and concern and worry, and there's just a lot of well, the media calls it disinformation. But I call it what the Bible calls it. It's not just disinformation, it's deception. And so today on our broadcast, we're going to be talking about God's anti-deception toolkit. There are resources that are available to help us discern and determine when we are being deceived. And it's just important that we are able to distinguish when someone's trying to pull something over your head, when there are things in the atmosphere that your gut tells you that aren't accurate, that your instinct tells you, but you can't quite put your hand on it. And I saw a really good video the other day about a pastor who was saying, I come over here and I read these articles about Joe Biden, and then I go over and I read, and then they say, oh, Joe Biden is great and he's wonderful. Then I go over here and I read these articles about Joe Biden and say, oh, Joe Biden is terrible. And then I go over and I read these articles about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is great. Then I go over and I read these articles about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is terrible. And you have all of these contrasting perspectives. And so you stop and you ask, where is the truth in all of this? Where is the insight, or how am I able to take this information and discern right from wrong, truth from deception? And it's really fascinating that, you guys, excuse me, I'm gonna turn my heat off. There, you have I love it because I love my office, but it's right next to a window. And so sometimes when I'm doing stuff, my feet get chilly. And so I have this wonderful, oh man, I don't know if you've ever had a Polaris heater. They are just the best. They're small, they're quiet, but anyway, they're great. So today we're going to be talking about how to discern, or how to differentiate between deception and between fact and truth, between deception and to determine when somebody is trying to deceive you. So I'm excited. So go ahead, and those, as you come on, please come on and share. Please go ahead and tell somebody else that we're on. We're just grateful. So let's go ahead and delve right in. Let's just jump right into it. So today we're talking about God's anti-deception toolkit. And in this particular lesson, I actually took the time to just really delve into the scriptures, because at the end of the day, the one thing that is always available to help us distinguish between darkness, light, truth, and deception is the Word of God. And so the first thing, it's important that people understand that in the course of evaluating all that's going on, everything that's happening, the thing that allows us to separate it is to realize that that God gave us His Word. And His Word is what allows us to change. Now, historically, in this country, the Bible, the Word of God, our faith was a very significant part of our culture. If you look at a lot of our laws, they're based on biblical laws. If you look at a lot of our policies, they're reflective of faith-based principles. And so when you start to deviate from that and you start to separate from that, then that's when people start to have issues, and they start to have problems distinguishing fact from fiction, lies from deception, light from darkness, and truth from lies. And so in order for us to really lock down a process for distinguishing light, for recognizing truth and walking in that truth, you have to have a baseline where you're going to use this particular, like for example, if a builder is laying a foundation, he has to have a baseline to make sure that from this point, I'm going to measure from this point, and then everything else, once I establish this line, once I establish this plumb line, once I establish this base, then everything else is going to stem out from that. It's going to grow out from that. So I measure from that point. Well, our baseline in this earth, or our baseline in the world, it is the Word of God. And that's where we distinguish from. That's where we map out from. So in order for us to distinguish what is what and where we're going, we need to have the baseline of the Word of God. So the baseline for everything that we do is the word. And if we stop and you want to say, well, how do I connect the word to truth? Because in order for us to separate what's going on, even with the counting in this election, as I mentioned, I did a video last night. We need to distinguish justice. We need to distinguish truth. Okay, so we need to know justice, we need to know truth, and we have to establish righteousness. What is right and what is righteous, okay? Justice, truth, and righteousness. So those are the three pillars that God bases from. He works out from that. So when you look at truth, let's start there. Because to discern and to not be deceived, I have to always have a baseline of truth. What is that? Truth is what allows us to distinguish all lies and deceptions. And the baseline for all truth is the Word of God. Well, what is the Word of God? The Word of God, truth is not just the scriptures. Truth is a person. Truth is a person. Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That's John 14:6. So if we say that truth is a person, then when we go back and we start to look into that, when we start to decipher that, we realize that truth is light. Okay, and light, in order for light to show you where the realities are, where the real information is, you have to distinguish who is light. So truth is not just a word, it's not just insight. Truth is actually a person. Truth is Jesus. Truth and Jesus is light. So Jesus is way, he's the truth, and he is the life, L-I-F-E. But it gets bigger than that. Because in order for you to get out of any darkness, in order for us to pull our way out of any darkness, deception is darkness, then you have to have a light source that guides you out. A lighthouse sits upon a hill that guides ships out of the ocean and lets them know where the parameters are, where the shore is, where the rocks are. And if you don't know where the rocks are, if you don't know where the parameters are, if you don't know where the borders and the boundaries are, then you can run into, so that's when you're going to have an accident. That's when you're going to run into something that can be destructive for you. So truth is a person, truth is a path, truth is light, L-I-G-H-T, and truth is life, L-I-F-E. Now, in order for me to move beyond that, I have to acknowledge that if truth is a person, then I need to know, how do I apply the personhood of truth to my life? How do I use that truth? How do I know? I love this because, and again, I use the resource online. One of my favorite resources is the Blue Letter Bible. And there are a lot of ways that you can use this resource to help you study the word and to help you get greater insight. So let's just look at that connection between Jesus and truth. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth. So let's take that truth, T-H, and let's go to the scriptures. And what we're going to do, here is a tool from your toolkit to help you distinguish when you're being deceived. You're going to use the word of God as your baseline, and you're going to replace, wherever you see the word truth, you're going to replace it with Jesus. So, for example, John 3 verse 21 says, but he who does the truth comes to the light, L-I-G-H-T, that his deeds may be clearly seen that they have done in God. So we recognize in John 3, let's replace that. But he who does the truth, okay? But he who does the truth comes to the light. Well, but he who does the word, okay, who is the word? John 1:1, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us. So when he says he who does the truth, it means he who does the word. And he who does the word is then now connecting with who is the word. The word is Jesus, okay? That's the word that became flesh and dwelt among us. So he who does the truth or does the word comes to the light. That means you come to a place and a path where you can distinguish between when someone is lying to you or when someone is trying to deceive you. Let's look at another one. John 5:33. It says, you have sent to John, and he has borne witness to the truth. Well, who was John? John came before Jesus. And John, so let's replace the truth with Jesus. You have sent to John, and he has borne witness to Jesus. John 8:32, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You shall know the truth. Well, who is the truth? You shall know Jesus, and Jesus shall make you free. Again, we're talking about establishing a baseline for the Word of God, so that you can use that baseline to know when you're being deceived. And we're just establishing a core principle that Jesus is truth, and that if you're going to establish truth, if you're going to walk in truth, if you're going to walk in light, you need to know that the truth and Jesus are the same thing. That light in Jesus is the same thing. So you need to understand. So we have to understand that. John 8:40. But now you seek to kill me. A man. I'm just a man who told you the truth. He said, John was saying, I'm just a man who told you about Jesus, which I heard from God. So we understand now that truth and Jesus are the same thing. Truth is a person. Truth is a person. So now let's go on to our next point. In order for us to move, we know that truth is a person and truth is light. So Jesus is that person and Jesus is that light. Now, the next thing is we have to realize is, what is deception? Well, the word D-E, sieve, C-E-I-V-E. D means to break apart from, to separate, to remove. And sieve, C-E-I-V-E, means to get, to obtain. So deceive means to separate you from your ability to obtain truth. It means to separate you from our capacity to obtain insight. It means to separate us from our ability to obtain the resource we need to get the truth, so we can make good decisions. Okay, so now we realize that deceive is to separate, and the word sieve means to get. Now, I find it interesting that you're going to pair two words, deceive and perceive. Deceive is to separate, and perceive is to get access to. So if the enemy is trying to separate you, what is he trying to separate you from? What is he trying to stop you from getting access to? And we know all truth, all life, all revelation, all pathways, all of them go to Jesus. Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. So what is the enemy doing? When he's trying to deceive you, he's trying to separate you from your capacity to get access to the source of the one who gives you truth, the source of the one who gives you life, the source of the one who gives you path, so that you know what to do, how to do it, where to do it. So that's what deception is all about. God's anti-deception toolkit. Anything the enemy does is a strategy to separate you from our capacity to get at the truth. And then so we go on from there. What's next? What else does the enemy try to do? The enemy tries to, the opposite of deception is the ability to discern. Well, what is discernment? Discernment is being able to use my natural or my spiritual senses to perceive or to get access to something, to insight, to revelation, to knowledge. It's my ability to get access to it. Okay, now the starting place for eliminating all deception is stepping into the Word of God. The starting place for eliminating all deception is getting access to the Word of God. Discernment begins with knowing Jesus or knowing the truth. Jesus is the way, Jesus is the truth, Jesus is the light, and Jesus is the life. L-I-F-E and L-I-G-H-T. So if you want access to all of them, you're going to need to establish yourself in the truth. Now, what does John 17:17 say? Thy word is truth. So the Word of God is truth. Okay, and the Word of God is also Jesus. So to establish that connection, it's very important that we make that a baseline. Now, what I'm going to do in this session is I'm going to break these up into smaller pieces so that the videos will be shorter. So in this first segment, we have established three things. Jesus is truth. Truth is a person. That all deception is designed to separate us from truth or the person of Jesus Christ. Truth is a person. Okay? In addition, John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Truth is also light, L-I-G-H-T. In him was life. Now, in who? That's Jesus. And the life was the light, or L-I-G-H-T. It means truth. Jesus was the illumination of men. That means you can, when you accept Jesus, when you have him in your life, he allows us to see. Okay? And then we realize that the word deception D-E-C-E-I-V-E is also, you can compare that to perceive. Okay, D-E is a prefix which means to separate from. Sieve, C-E-I-V-E, is a suffix which means to get or have access to. And per means through. It means let us go through. So when the enemy is trying to separate us from knowledge, separate us from wisdom, separate us from insight, when he's trying to deceive us, that's how we know that there is one at play who's trying to keep you from getting access to what we need so that we can make good decisions, we can make good judgments, and we can recognize when someone is working against us. Now, in this next segment, we're going to start to talk about what is the starting place for eliminating all deception. Okay, we'll begin with that. We'll be right back after this.